going on, everybody? This is the U1st Podcast. I am your girl, Dr.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your girl, comedian Lady Q.
We got Queen Philly in the house. How y'all doing?
They're a little rusty. It's all right. We're going to get it. Now,
Couple of days.
a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. We love y'all, though. We back here. 25, what's going on?
Oh, wow. 2025, going into the third month.
Yes. First quarter down.
First quarter down.
That's a little fast, though.
It was.
Yeah.
That was way too fast.
But for me, I mean, it's been good. You know, everybody start off in January. You know, we know about the planes and the fires and all of that stuff. And people wanted to pick that to be the setup for the year.
Absolutely.
But I said, no, baby, because we got
not receiving it.
When you stay ready, you can't get ready.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You know, so I don't ever claim any of that, you know, because the thing about it, when you look back on it, people are still moving forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, people are moving forward, you know. Condolences to those that have lost their lives, that have lost loved ones. Shout out to all of our first responders and
absolutely.
everybody that was in the trenches for everything. But guys, we got to keep moving. We're still here.
Absolutely.
We're still
Absolutely.
here. So that's the opportunity to keep going.
I was telling Queen Philly a couple of days ago, I said, I feel like I'm just stepping into the new year. Like
Yeah.
I'm just stepping into a space where I'm like, hold up, God got this. And I ain't working it like I'm supposed to be working.
Yeah.
You know, like I slow dragged into this year, but this is the first quarter down. Next month is March, Women's Month. So
Yeah.
we done had New Year. We done had Black History Month.
Like it's
Then we got, yeah.
Martin Luther King. Celebrated the King. You know. And the thing I want people to realize is that you cannot get stuck.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to start over. Like, you know, it's like being on a diet or working out. When we miss the gym 3, 4, 5 days in a
Mhm.
row and we eat that cookie or eat that piece of cake, we
Yeah.
just ready to just give up for the rest
Absolutely.
of the year. It's
Absolutely.
only February.
That's enough.
Like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. No.
You got this.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But see, keep going. That's the name of the game. Listen, I'm so excited about today's episode.
Tell us
So
why.
excited.
Tell us why.
I got new author, founder, she edifies, new author of the Bridge series. It's going to be a series.
Awesome.
And we are talking about forgiveness in relationships. So y'all know what the show going to be about already.
Love.
Forgiveness in relationships.
Love.
Now, when we talk about forgiveness, we could be talking about in marital relationships. We could be talking about with your family. Things that yourself. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But today we definitely want to focus on the target area. Miss Shakia Hicks.
So excited for you, girl. Doing your thing.
No, Miss Shakia Hicks, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, the motto on any of the shows that we do on U1st Media platform is "Can nobody tell I really like it can." So introduce yourself to the people.
My name is
Tell us a little
Shakia Nicole Hicks. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I have 2 amazing boys. Something that I wanted to do for a long time. I desired to do, but you know, I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And I asked myself, why you keep putting it off? But like you said, you got to keep going, you know. And I found myself at a point where I was just like, seriously, do you want me to stop this? And he was like, nah.
Yeah.
You know, you got to keep pushing.
Process.
It's a process. And it's so funny you say that. I got a tattoo say trust the process. So one day I was looking in the mirror and I was like, so it was a process, but you know, all is well. I thank God that I'm here with you guys and able to share to the world because it's powerful.
What do y'all think about forgiveness? Now, the subtitle to this book, this particular book in the series, is Grace Beyond Abandonment. Now, when we talk about forgiveness, we get a simple definition and we're like, we just got to forgive them because Jesus said forgive them.
Right.
But it's a little deeper than that, as we know. We have a lot of people that say, well, I ain't going to forgive them because they get away with what they did to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I know in a lot of the pages in your book, you talk about they're not getting away with that. But it's still a requirement for us to reach a certain level of peace.
Yeah.
Right? So let's kind of start from the beginning. Before we get into the book, I want to talk about your journey to getting that pen and actually writing down what you want to say. Because we always get clouded with What is that person going to think about me? What are they going to say? How is this going to affect the people that I'm talking about? Talk about breaking free from that so that you can even start the writing process.
Well, for me, I was a daddy's girl. Everybody, growing up as a little girl, you want your dad as your first love.
Yeah.
So I was a daddy's girl. I mean, like, and the thing is, I'm an only child. I was his only child. And so my dad left out of my life at 13. And when he left, it was like, what did I do? Why me?
Yeah.
Hold up, you supposed to be my first love, teach me everything, be there for me, but now you gone.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of anger inside of me, and I was so mad that I was like, I took it out on everybody. Everybody around me, I didn't care. I wanted to fight. Like fighting was my mechanism to heal myself. So I thought, But until I, grew and built my relationship with God, I realized that He saw more in me than what I was seeing in myself. Then I had to say, you know what, this ain't it.
Yeah.
Because either I'm going to rock with God or I'm going to let the devil just take me up out of here.
Yeah.
So I had to make that decision, and I made that decision that what was holding me back from moving forward. And I found that me not forgiving my father, getting down to the root of why he left or what caused him to leave or what wasn't in his life that he grew up, that he was bearing that just happened to trickle down on me to cause me to not forgive. But I learned in the process of doing that I had to forgive him. And not just forgive him, but let it go.
That's a lot.
Not just forgive him, but let it go.
You said something so key. You said what was in his life that caused him to be buried and that trickled down onto me. And a lot of times we don't think about that. We don't think about what they're actually dealing with. We just think about how it affects us.
Right. And how it made us feel. I mean, like, I knew my dad. My dad is still living. He's still here. And I can proudly say, to God be the glory, we have a relationship now. Amen. 46 years, we have a relationship. And it's the funniest relationship because it's like, I'm the parent. You know what I mean? It's like I'm the parent. And I'm like, yo, dude, like you the dad, right? You my father. But it's the coolest thing though. Like, it's like he called me and it's like he asked, hey, you think I should wear this shirt with these jeans? Or you think I should do this, do that? So it's cool, but we're getting to know each other, and that's the most powerful thing in the whole thing, the reconciliation.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. Every relationship that you deal with where you have to forgive, you're not going to reconcile. You're not going to reconcile. Yeah, it just may be the sense of you forgiving so that you can move on and you can be free. The freedom and forgiveness is for you, not that other person.
Yeah. And that's key that you said that, because I remember watching an interview, I believe it was Kiera Shears, and she was sitting with a bishop, which was a really close friend of hers. And he was telling her, because something happened in their relationship, and I believe that's what it was. Yeah. But something happened in their relationship which caused him to lose trust in her. Mm-hmm. And this is what he said to her. He said, when you did what you did or said what you said, he said, we can no longer go back to being how we used to be. Basically, that trust go, we cool.
Yeah.
But we ain't cool.
Yeah.
Y'all know what when you say something twice, you know what that means.
Yeah. It tainted the relationship.
Yeah. Exactly. So we have to accept that. Yeah. Because when we forgive, and we know we're not gonna forget, but when we forgive and we move on, we think that things gonna go back the way they used to.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not. That's
or
like
they thinking that.
Yeah. Right. That's just like me. I had to learn. God convicted me a few weeks ago that every apology you give is not going to be accepted, and you need to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You can't be saying, "Well, yo, nappy headed self, I shouldn't apologize." No, God told you to apologize. Whatever it is that God tells you to do, you have to do it. He's in control of the outcome.
Yeah.
And we have to trust His outcome. We have to trust Him in the outcome.
Yeah. Even in the power, even in forgiveness, you got to understand that whatever God is telling you to do, it's for His will anyway. Mm-hmm. It's not for us anyway. Yeah. We live in this thing called life. Like He knows the beginning and the ending. He wants you to maneuver through the middle just to see if you're going to trust him. If you're going to stand on his word that he has given us in his word to see if we're going to trust him. Oftentimes we get manipulated. We try, the enemy come, and try to throw his little game in there. If you know that you know that you know, you're going to just walk, you're going to know that everything I'm doing is for the will of the master. So I have no worries.
Can we safely say that even forgiveness is the same process as us building faith, like growing in faith? Because without having faith in what God is telling us, then the outcome he's telling us.
Yeah.
Because we know God doesn't give us the process, right, the middle. Okay. So he's like, okay, you'll have peace if you do da 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 da.
Yeah.
But we going through this process. I'm like, God, I don't feel no peace yet. You know what I'm saying? So that trust in that process is the same thing we have to do when it comes to forgiveness.
Yeah.
You do because Daddy said this.
Yeah.
But the outcome is not up to you; it's up to Him.
Exactly.
So when we don't get the outcome that we want, then what we usually do or tend to do is have an unfair expectation of what that person is supposed to.
Yes, that is so true. Like, and I think it's a sign of maturity too, because I remember when I first got saved or during my process of growing in Christ or whatever, it would be certain things I felt like if I do what God tell me to do, then my outcome gonna be good. And so I'm already in my mind planning how good it's gonna be and how God's gonna do this and God's gonna do that. And then it would be completely opposite from that, and the outcome could seem so horrible, but in the end it ended up being for my good. And so I learned that just because he told me to do it, don't mean it's going to look like, you know what I'm saying? That don't mean it ain't going to be good.
That's it.
It just ain't going to look good to what I might expect it to
His
look like.
process is to save you or help you or heal you from something. I look at life as this. Everything that you go through should be a lesson. Everything should be a lesson.
Definitely.
You should be able to take something away from it.
Yeah.
So if God puts you in it, He's gonna see you through it.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you gonna learn from it? You know what I'm saying? I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. When my father left, that was like, whoa! It was like that. That was worse than somebody cutting me and throwing salt in the cut. You know what I mean? So I turned to the streets. I met my husband, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, yo, he was flying me here, flying. I was like, whoa, okay. Who, God, who, what? No, you know what I'm saying? Daddy, who? So, and of course, I look for that security, you know what I'm saying? Because you left me, and then it took trust away from me. I couldn't trust nobody, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, if my father leave me and he gave me life, then what would you do?
Yeah.
Right.
So it did a lot to me, but like I say, to God be the glory.
Yeah.
I am who I am today because of it. Like I don't regret it. I don't regret none of it because I felt like if I was to regret it, then I wouldn't have learned from it.
Yeah.
But I learned from it. That's going through it.
That's right.
So you talked about your father a lot, but we have a lot of people that are watching right now that may be in a relationship. We've covered a lot of friendship topics on this level here. So talk a little bit about the spouse relationship, because as you stated, your view of security came through human form. So if your dad left, then now I don't know if I can trust this, but I need security. So how do you decipher what to take a risk on and what not to when it comes to relationships? Or will you always be juggling, hey, if you make one mistake or it doesn't look like it a little bit, I gotta let you go. Now I'm moving on to the next.
I'm a piggyback off of what Queen said about the maturity. I think it comes a lot with your maturity level and where you are. I mean, I think God has to be the foundation. Because if God is not the foundation, you will be all over the world. You know what I'm saying? We know that the devil operates in confusion. God don't operate in confusion at all.
Yeah.
So, like she said, I do believe it's the maturity. You have to be able to like me, I seek wisdom. I don't ask for material things. I ask God to give me wisdom. When he give me wisdom, he gonna give me the ability to use my discernment. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying even with my relationship with my husband, it wasn't peaches and cream. In the beginning, it wasn't that way because of me. I would say because of me, because of my insecurities and the things I dealt with, as far as trust and all that, But I had to say, and I give you one better. I said, God, take him away from me. Yeah. But then God said no.
Yeah.
He said no, because you got to learn stability.
See, on that point, I want to interject a little bit and have Lady Q talk about this because she's married now. It's been a couple of years. I can't even say newly now because the years are going by so fast. But you got married at a beautiful age, but you have so much experience that comes before that. So talk a little bit about the things that Shakia is saying here and how that relates to somebody finding love later in life.
Well, the key thing is that you have to work on you. You have to work on you. Because I hear a lot of, women say, he got to bring something to the table. He got to do this. He got to do. What are you doing?
Yes.
What are you doing? It's just, it gets under my skin when I hear these women that put all of these criteria on men and what they got to do or what they got to have. And your bra and panty don't even match. You don't even have a sheet count. It's almost like, you're not even prepared to be in a relationship. Right. I'm not even gonna say be a wife because you far from it. Yeah. You think it's all this materialistic thing that this man got to do this man got to do this, he got to bring this, he got to bring that. What are you bringing? And I'm not even talking monetary wise. Like, do you even know how to cook?
Yeah.
Outside of the microwave and the air fryer. Can you make something from scratch? Can you be that help me to that man? Do you know how to pray? Do you know how to pray? So for me, because I got off it. For me, I had to work on me. And y'all know I tell my story all the time. I had an argument with God because I had my wedding plans when I was 15 years old. So I knew in my early 20s I was going to have me a husband and some kids. I had the kids with the husband I didn't have. So I began, I'm like in my late 40s now, like God. And then I became content with myself. Okay, I'm going to just be single. That's fine. And I really started to work on me. I really started to just stop looking, stop flirting, stop. It was all about me. And God took care of me to the point where I was in the airport. I was in the Delta Sky Lounge, and I'm just out there and got invited into it. And God said, this is why I don't have any food up.
Yeah.
Because I'm setting the standard.
Yeah.
So when you trust God, when you trust the process, God is going to take care of you. So my dad is deceased, and I was the daddy's girl to the point where I did his eulogy because I didn't want somebody to say something about my daddy, and I didn't like it. It would be world star in that church. I was ready to take off earrings, shoes, all of that stuff. So anyway, when I was sitting in the Delta Sky Lounge, God told me, He said, this is why I don't have you moved up because I'm setting the bar. So when I bring you that man, when I show him to you, you're gonna know it's me.
Yeah.
Bring it up to you because it ain't gonna be no piece of shit.
Yeah.
And people would tell people that. They would say, "Hey, you, maybe you need to get a HUD house, a HUD home." So what's a HUD home? Fix a upper, you got good insurance. If he ain't got no teeth, you can give him some teeth, fix them up. I said, no, baby. I said, not my daddy. My daddy don't give me fixer uppers. My daddy give me ready to move in, move in ready.
Yes.
So, and I always, but it's going to sound contradicting, but there's 5 things that I tell women: be kind, be open. What's the thing? Be kind, be open, and be a lady. So be kind. We always know we so hard. Everybody think we mean and upset because we walk around like we on guard. Number 2 is be open, meaning that he don't have to make 6 figures. If you make less than 6 figures, he's still a good man.
That's right.
And be a lady. Stop trying to boss up at home. Like, oh, I got this. I was telling a young lady the other day, I said that I got this spirit gonna keep you single for the rest of your life. God was trying to carry her stuff. Oh no, I'm fine. I said, shoot, everything I have, carry it. But all that being said, you have to work on it because you have to prepare yourself to be with somebody else. And that was a journey for me. Because when I tell you I had no closet space, no drawer space, no bathroom space, where you gonna put this toothbrush? Because it was all about me.
Yeah.
And when God gave me 6'9", 300 plus pounds, I had to make it.
Yeah.
And it was so easy.
I want to piggyback off what you said and share this because I just think it's vital that as women we understand it's not always about what we bring to the table either. Because I know, I remember this lady telling me, baby, being married don't make you a wife. And I thought about that thing like a long time because I thought if I could cook and take care of the kids and take care of him and be loyal, then, I'm a good. But what about loving yourself, taking care of you, valuing you, understanding who you are? You can get so wrapped up into taking care of them that you don't even know you or understand yourself, and you're miserable deep down. Then you're conforming, then you wake up one day depressed. Like, why am I even depressed? In your mind you have everything, but you don't have you. So I just also want to encourage women it's more to being married than just taking care of home, cooking, being a good cook, being able to clean the house, being able to take care and cater to a man. It's also being able to cater to yourself. There's another side of that selfish person, but then there's some people who are selfless and they don't do nothing for themselves, and that does not make you a good wife, because you have to value enough to be what you need to be for anybody. He just benefits off of that greatness that you already have inside of you.
That lingers on into other types of relationships too. Whether you're meeting your parents later in life, whether it's a friendship, whether it's or friendships or work relationships, because how we hurt is how we see, and how we heal is how we see. Vision starts changing. So if he hurt me or if he did something, then I'm looking at her like she did something if I don't heal. So a major part of forgiveness is taking the responsibility of the heal.
That's exactly right. I was just going to say that. I was going to say being accountable. When you learn to be accountable for you, then you can help your mate be accountable for their actions as well, in a loving, kind manner, because you experienced it. You know what I mean? That part.
Well, it's not always pretty. Right. Everybody don't always make it. We talk a lot about Christian marriages, but the truth is a reality beyond just what you see other people going through on social media. It's like, if you're willing to do the work and go through the process, that thing could be beautiful. But if you don't take in some of these points that you've heard here, it can be harder process because you're not taking care of you in the process. Now, when I say taking care of you, I'm not talking about feminist movement. You got to be able to take care of you enough to know how to demand that same from someone else. In demand, I'm not using the strength of the word that way we use it. It's like, if I can't love me, how can I tell you how to? Right. How can I give you the expectations I have on this type of love? Whether that be a friend or anything. I don't want you yelling at me like that. I want you to communicate this way. But in turn, they're communicating how they want to be treated in that relationship. And every relationship is not the same. It's not going to be treated the same. But how you see yourself sometimes bleeds over into different relationships. Right. Forgiveness is very powerful, but not just powerful on one level. It's powerful on multiple levels. And it's all about growing internally, getting yourself together so that you can enjoy the fruitfulness of relationships and what God intended it to be.
Because God intended us to have relationships. That's why He created us uniquely different, so that we can build relationships, to have relationships with each other. That is true every time. And back to what you were saying, with a lot of women don't understand that He created us to be wives. He did. Like the word of God say, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. But with that, you got, like you say, it don't come with just knowing how to cook and knowing how to do, but you got to be, like sometimes my husband look at me and be like, how do you know how to do that? Nobody taught me. When you get focused and you understand who God has called you to be, then everything is going to line up. You know what I'm saying? Even understanding, like you said, understanding being a wife, understanding that like me, I submit to the Lord. And I know me submitting to God will show my husband favor. And favor is constantly going to come upon him. So people be like, oh, you do everything, you doggone right. That's mine. It belongs to me. That is mine. God gave give me him, and I'm gonna take care of him. Because guess what? He want me to take care of his son, just the same way he want him to take care of his daughter. And so, like my pastor taught me a long time ago when I was 15 years old. I'll never forget him saying, he was like, my wife don't touch no trash. She don't pump no gas. That was the standard for me. Let me let you know. I don't touch no trash. I'm not pumping no gas. So when I go to get in my car is full. I live in the house with now 2 men. No garbage out. So, like, I agree. You set standards. Yeah. But when you can't set those standards if you don't know who you are. And you got to know who you operating and operating with.
Yeah. And wisdom. And I'm going to tell people that therapy is key.
Oh, yes.
Therapy is key for you first, and therapy is key for relationships.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we went through premarital counseling, and there was a lot of things that I learned about myself and how to be a wife. So what I want to say is that when you have that relationship with God, it's good to have counseling, and even counseling as a couple, because now you don't want to get in something and now you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because the one thing our counselor said to us, he said, this is a person that you have to be vulnerable to. And I said, that word is a lump in my throat. That's like a lump in my throat. I was like, because mind you, I'm 48. 48 when I got engaged. We had just met 6 months prior. And I'm thinking in my mind, he'll be my best friend. I don't even know him like that. But when you become vulnerable, you open up everything to that person. They know your everything, all your insecurities and everything. But this is the key. When you come to a disagreement, you got to fight fair.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of couples fail. They do not fight fair. Yeah. You cannot use my vulnerability. If I tell you that I'm afraid of the dark and this, and the other thing, and we get in an argument and you go turn the break off.
Yeah.
And they say, I cannot find your way out. You leave.
Yeah.
You know I'm paralyzed.
That's a good.
You cannot use it. You cannot use relationships or things that you shared with your spouse that they shared with you and say, I know your mom ain't had no hair up under that wig.
But that is such a sore spot because everybody is not mature enough to understand right there.
That's why counseling is key.
Yeah, it's key. But also, before you even get into saying, okay, I want a relationship, I want a friendship, I want to reconcile this relationship, know what the purpose of doing that is. Because everybody doesn't have the same mindset about what you want to do or what to get from that relationship. And that is so key because I've been married twice and I've had to deal with, now I grew up with my first husband. So we had to deal with the back and forth. It's like fighting over, mental little stuff because I don't know why that bothers.
Right.
Neither one of us wanted to find out how to fix it. We just want to be right. Fast forward to the second, I know me a little bit more, but at the same time, I'm still growing. I got 2 adult children, and I'm sitting there like, okay, now I got to find out how to be a mom to these men, and now another man comes in. I'm trying to fix their relationship before it starts, and I ain't even learned how to, you know what I'm saying? Right. So understanding how to communicate and understand your needs is just as essential as understanding theirs.
Yeah.
So it is a process, and that doesn't mean you're gonna get it all right before you tie the knot. A relationship. No. It's gonna be some learning each other and things like that.
It makes me think about how she said how sometimes he'll call and he'll say, "How this shirt look, baby?" In that moment, you put whatever it is that you had going on to the side to say, "Oh, I think the blue and white one would be nice." You know what I mean? Yeah. And it could be just that small, just that simple. Yeah. It don't have to be difficult.
Popping into that next question, Queen Philly, I think, can kind of lead us in this one too, because growing up in foster care and now as an adult woman getting into the relationship with your parents, how is this conversation of forgiveness really registering with you in that situation?
I'll say that when she first started talking, I was taking everything in, make sure I ain't missing nothing. Like, hold on, let me, hold on, am I doing that? Because I'm always checking myself for one. And for two, this has been one of the hardest things, especially because now I'm grown. I'm grown now. So I'm like, okay, now I'm 40. Now my parents are just coming around and I'm 40. So it's like, okay, I mean, to me, honestly, I felt it was unfair.
Yeah.
It was like, wait a minute, like, hold on
Now
now.
you gotta be the parent.
Yeah, because it's like, they're older and they're, going through different things, medically and all that stuff like that. So it's just like, to me, it's like I didn't get that chance to get to know you, and now I'm having to get to know you when you're in need.
Yeah, that's big.
And so now it's taking more than just me getting to know you. It's taking, I'm feeling guilty when I can't give and when I can't help and when you have that very strong need and I can't just, it just takes a lot from me. And so honestly, it put me in an uncomfortable space because I'm always asking God, like, okay, because I don't want to do the wrong thing. That's one thing. But at the same time, I want to do
The right thing.
by them without letting my thoughts of the past get in the way, if that makes sense. I don't want to keep thinking about, those past moments. I remember sharing with her that I would always go to the closet. I didn't want nobody to see me. I would go to the closet and cry and come back out smiling like, let's dance. I always said chip a person, but silently hurting. And different times that my mom would say certain things, it would be like I would have those little flashbacks of crying for her. And she's like, baby, I need you in my life. And I had those flashbacks like I needed you in my life. And when I tell y'all, it's very conflicting, but at the same time, all I can do, like you said, use wisdom, love them. And I ain't gonna sit here and just say I just forgave them, because honestly, I did think thought I had forgiven them, and I realized that this is a process because there are still moments where I feel a little angry about certain things. I don't know why, because I'm not, but there are moments where thoughts come and I know that's because I'm not completely healed from that. So it is a process. I can say that. And I'm not where you are yet, but I'm working towards that.
And I would say this
right now.
I will say this. It's gonna be a process because I may look and feel I'm not always there yet either. Because just the other day, like I haven't spoken to my father in like 3 weeks until yesterday. And I'm like, okay, now wait a minute. Like this was on the road. But I will tell you this, I'm gonna say this. I've always was one. My grandmother instilled in me the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Honor your mother and father for your days will be long. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what they did, you do your part in honoring them. Yeah. Because you're being obedient to what God wants you to do. Yeah. And that's honoring it. Despite what they did, despite them putting you in foster care, despite that, you do your part to honoring them. So in the end, I'm just like you because my father called me when his wife passed away. Mind you, he left out of my life because of his wife. She couldn't accept the fact that he had a child. I was his only child and she didn't have anybody. So it was her goal was to tear us apart. Yeah. And she won. Because it pulled him away from me. My father don't know he didn't have a relationship with my children. So he wasn't Paul, Grandpa, none of that, And those are the only 2 grandchildren he has, But at the same time, when she passed away, I get a phone call like your dad needs you. I needed him for 40 minutes. What? Whoa, what's real is back. And I was throwing lashes like, do you know I went through this? Do you know this happened to me? Do you know I struggled this? And then God said, okay, but I was there. Yes. Wow. Yes. He said, you're complaining, but I was there. Yeah. And you made me think about what y'all said earlier about not understanding what they may have experienced that caused them to we don't know why. In the first place. We don't know. And you know what? Something like I was telling you earlier. Oftentimes we always say we want to point the finger. You did the devil did or you did this. I'm like this happened and this happened to me and I'm this way because of no. Maybe God needed them to give you a way so that you can become the woman you are today. Because we don't know what they was going through. Yeah. We don't know what they was dealing with, what they was going through. But they had enough. You got to look at it like this, and this is what I look at. I said, God, you funny. You a humorous guy, but I got you now. He was away from me because you know I didn't need to be in that environment with her. Because that environment with her and the way I was, it had my dad in a tug of war.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably would have lost him to jail because he probably would have flipped. You know what I'm saying? Or being dead, you know? So you got to look at it as God took you out that situation for a reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly
He
how
took you out that situation for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Queen Philly can be Queen Philly today to help somebody else who's in foster care and setting up saying, why me? Why not you? That's the question. Why not you?
There's a story. Everybody has a story. I remember watching this young man on social media, and he was talking to his cousin who didn't have her dad in her life. And she was so angry when she finally met him. She was just going off on him. And she was like, like, why did you leave? He said, I didn't even know about you.
Mm.
He said, first of all, me and your mom, that was a one night stand. So one night stand, we know that is.
Yeah.
I left.
Yeah.
And I never saw your mom again. She never reached out to me. All of this stuff. Whatever the young lady had in her mind or whatever she was told, that's what, of course, she believed.
Mm-hmm.
And this man was like, I just hit it and quit it with your mama and left. So everybody has a story. It could be.
And then she could have spent her whole life feeling some type of way towards him.
Yeah. He didn't even know. And so everybody, we all have a story. And I'm going to try to tell the story without being long and then, discreet in a sense. When my mom and dad divorced, I was mad at my mom. I was really mad at my mom because every time I would see my dad try to be affectionate with mom. First of all, they've married over 20 years. I've never seen my mom and dad hold hands. I've never seen them kiss. I don't even think I had one hug. And so when my dad left, I blamed my mom. You ain't give my daddy no sugar. You ain't did. You don't want to say no. You did this. But come to find out, my daddy was stepping out on my mom for years. For years. After kids, all of this stuff. Still, mom and daddy
Wise enough to show it to you.
Right. And I didn't realize that until I was in college.
Yeah.
So everybody, that's what we have to remember. There's a story. Yeah. And people are not so quick to tell their story because they may be ashamed.
Yeah.
They might not even remember the story. They may be embarrassed. It's just so many things, but everybody has. And we think about it like, I would never do that. You weren't in there.
Yeah. You don't know.
Because we have children.
We all said it. We kids saying the same thing about it.
Yeah.
And we would never think, I can't even imagine leaving my child. You raped?
Right. Yeah.
Were you molested?
Right.
Yeah.
Were you literally in the street giving birth and about to die with a gun to your head and somebody wanted your child for drugs and you just, here, take,
Yeah.
put it in foster care, saving your life.
Yeah.
We just don't know the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. That's why it's important for us to understand. When we talk about tell your story, nobody else can, that's still only one viewpoint.
Yeah.
Because there's another side. There's somebody else involved in that scenario. And like you said with the father, I didn't even know about it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this is what this was, but it wasn't. And it was unfair to him now that he doesn't even get a chance to make a decision whether to be there or not.
Right.
And now he's disliked in a sense because of that lack of knowledge, something he had no control over. And so we do have to be sensitive to another person's story in your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so important because dealing with molestation and stuff at a young age with me, even communicating that to certain members of the family, like,
Brush it under the rug.
So when you deal with that, you're like, well, anything that happens to me, I must not be good enough to communicate that to somebody else. So guess what? I'm not telling nobody else.
Right.
I'm not saying this again. So other relationships are now hindered because I can't fully tell the side of the story.
Yeah. Be quiet.
But then as I got older, the viewpoint I had to then face this person, the viewpoint is different. You decided. You gave permission.
Right.
But from that viewpoint, that mindset is totally different, underdeveloped. So when somebody's mind is underdeveloped, their view of the situation is going to be different from yours. And while you're fighting this one thing, they're fighting a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Or not seeing it the same
Yeah,
way.
because
So,
every single time, I can agree with it. Every single time something bad happened, every time I lost something, every time something bad, I always blamed it on my parents. Like growing up.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like if they were there, this
Right.
wouldn't have happened. And they, whatever they going through, like my mom, I told you went through, stage where she was in the institution, all those different things. She didn't know what's going on, but in my mind, I'm like, it's because you left me.
yeah.
Now,
Right.
I would, if I was with my mom, this would have happened.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what would have been happening. But
we've seen it. We've heard of the moms that are, battling mentally that took their kids in the oven, around the tub. Like all of this stuff happens, and it's like, and we say to ourselves, why?
Right.
And then when that happened, now the child grows up like, what? You would have been dead.
Yeah.
and that's something to think about when we're forgiving.
Because I felt like he didn't want me anyway. So, and I used to hear stories and watch TV of kids needing to be adopted. So I used to be like, yeah, I'm adopted. Yeah, I'm adopted. My mama used to be so mad. She used to be like, stop telling people that. I was like, you're not my real mom. You can't tell me that. She used to be like, what is wrong with you? Like, I really put in my mind that he didn't. So what's the difference? And then I used to battle the fact they used to say, well, you just spoil, and you just spoiling. I was spoiled. I was spoiled. I was a daddy's girl and a granddaddy's girl.
Yeah.
My granddaddy and my daddy used to argue over me. Like my nickname was Stanker and Stank Pot. Go figure. You know what I'm saying? Stank Pot, I was granddaddy. Stanker, I was daddy. So for you to leave me and you gave me life, now my granddaddy got the authority.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I looked at him as my daddy and my grandma as my mama. So I was like, y'all two adopted people. I don't even know y'all. Like, I looked at you. But like I said, you never know what people, and like Lady Q was saying, you never know people's stories.
Yeah.
I heard so many different stories. My mom didn't want to wait to get married and this and that, and so she left, and she wouldn't let my dad take me to Georgia, and it was so many stories.
Have you heard his story yet?
Yeah, I heard his story, and I asked him. I said, well, let me ask you some questions. In the beginning of us getting back together, my first question to him was why. But before that, I actually wrote him a letter. And it was like 7-8 pages long. I mailed it to his house, not knowing if he would even get it or if he would read it. But he got it. He read it. He called my mom and was like, tell Stanker to meet me at your house. So I go to his house and we literally sat there. And I'm like, you called me here, bro. I don't have nothing to say to you. So you need to be doing it. He said what I had to say in the letter. So we sat there, and his exact words to me was, "Thank you." So that made me feel like he didn't even acknowledge my pain. He didn't acknowledge that because it was, "Thank what you talking about?" So it's like, what? I said, okay, you have a nice day. You go on about your day, and I'm done. And I didn't talk to him no more. And I didn't speak to him no more until, like I said, when his wife recently passed, because in that letter, I indicated to him, I forgive you, not for you, but for me, so I could move on with my life.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So I was done. I was cool. But I did realize, back to what you were saying, that we can forgive people, but we can still be in bondage.
Yeah. Yep.
And we have to learn how to release that bondage. That's what it is. And releasing that bondage comes with letting go of the what if and why you didn't and the blame.
That's what I was just going to say. Also forgiving ourselves for blaming everything on them. Forgiving ourselves for thinking of them in that way.
Right.
Forgiving ourselves, because that is part of forgiving them as well.
That's right.
First and foremost, saying forgiveness for the process you think that happened.
Yeah.
God give me wisdom to understand not exactly everything, but give me enough wisdom to leave room for error in my translation of the story.
Yeah, error in my translation of the story. That's good.
ladies, we're gonna wrap this up, but this is such a broad topic. We can continue talking about this. The major part of this is their mindset. And we talk about mindset so much on this show because that's the thing we struggle with so much. That's the playground of the enemy. And that is one of the things that we got to keep on strengthening each other. What we see, what we hear, so that we can continue to heal and grow. And forgiving yourself is major part of the start. So, Miss Shakia, are there any last words of encouragement for our listeners and viewers?
I would just say to everyone out there, just you don't be afraid to take the first step in forgiveness. And that's you looking at you. Like I think what Michael Jackson said, man in the mirror. Start with yourself in the mirror. And anything that you've been through, you're going through, it's not a mistake. It's a reason why you're going through what was necessary for you to go through. So I would just say, don't be afraid to start the process. And don't beat yourself up and shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know what I'm saying? Just start and let God take control and have his way with you.
Absolutely. I love that. Absolutely. Ladies, y'all have anything?
I think y'all done said it all. I'm still pondering on some of the things you said.
That's key. We talked about wisdom. Seeking and having the wisdom of God. That is so important. That's what I want everybody to think of, because I tell people, in the end, the way that I act, the way that I carry myself, the way that I treat people, it's only for one. And we know that any illness in our heart, any ill matter in our hearts and in our mind, is not going to make it in. So in everything that I do and everywhere that I go, I want to be ready to face God. And I want him to say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. So people talk about, because I fly a lot now, and people think, you ain't scared to get on a plane? We all know what's happening on a plane. That's my fear. My fear is dying and not making it in. So in everything that we do, let's seek the wisdom of God. Let's focus on the kingdom of God and do what he has called us to do so that we can make it.
Yeah. Something did come to me when she was talking. We can allow unforgiveness to hinder our blessings or the keys to unlock certain blessings in our life. So don't allow that blockage and that hindrance to take place within your heart. Forgive, love, show kindness. Don't let anger fester in your heart towards someone when you don't even know their story. You don't even know the reason.
And one last thing. I got this in one of my Bible studies. Complaining ties you to your
Yes,
that's good.
yes.
So it's all about the tongue, and it's all about praying, and it's all about what we speak. Stop complaining, and that's what anything in life. You're complaining about a person, a job, a situation, because that's only continuing to like weave and wove you into that problem. And you've got to get untangled from it. So the way to get untangled from it is speaking those things that be not as though they were.
Everything that was said. So no matter a little bit to that. It's just we have to understand that your presence on earth is necessary. Your presence on earth has purpose. And so when we talk about forgiveness, it's not so small that you can't understand how well connected it is to your brothers and sisters, kingdom family. We are here for a purpose. So when we think about purpose, God designed and prepared people for you. And if you're not ready for you, then how can they be ready for you? And how can you serve purpose? Like, it's a bigger picture here. And it's important that we're all healthy and that we maintain our connection with God through prayer, through connecting with our brothers and sisters so that we can serve kingdom purpose. Forgiveness is not just for the other person. It's not really for that other person. Anyway, it's for you to release that so you can be able to connect the way you need to connect so God can do his thing. Point blank, people.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
We love y'all so much. Thank you so much for being on here with us. Congratulations on what's to come.
Thank you.
The Bridge, Grace Beyond Abandonment, the first book in this series, will be coming out in spring, and we will be updating y'all. So y'all stay locked on the U1st Media Group page and make sure y'all support her. So we're gonna have a whole revamp of everything. So we're so excited about Shakia and her journey, and we are looking forward to being a part of this process as you continue to grow. and help not just our listeners, but other ladies that are going to come in contact with you. So I'm so excited about that.
I appreciate y'all so much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, y'all. We love y'all. We'll see y'all again next week. This is U1st Podcast. I'm your girl, Dr. T.
Comedian Lady Q.
Queen Tilly.
Let's go.
You see how long 45 minutes is?
It was 54.
54 minutes.